Hey guys, okay, I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. I just want to continue here talking about some of the things I saw in your reflections at the end of last week that I thought were particularly insightful and that really summed up all of the learning goals that I had for you guys through this activity. This first one does just that, kind of talks about the differences between when it would be appropriate to use different types of searches. This person says, I enjoy using the web search engine as well for minor things or things that don't really need a lot of information tied to them. Google is something I use to quickly look for simple things like maps, sports scores, and game times, and to prove people wrong in an argument. With that being said, though, who's to say the information I look up to prove a point or win an argument is correct info? I would say Google is my best friend on my smartphone, but not for researched information for something like school or papers. So I thought it was really interesting that this person said Google's something I would use quickly to prove people wrong in an argument, because usually when we think of argument, we want to base our opinions that we're going to argue about on good information, right? We don't want to be the person that has some kind of misinformed opinion. We want to have educated opinions, especially those that we choose to align ourselves with and advocate for through argument. And so I was really glad to see when this person kind of reversed that and said, with that being the case, sometimes if I do it this way, the information I use to prove my points might not be correct. So especially in the case of academia or a research paper for school, you would not want to use the kind of smartphone Google sources as much as you would want to use the database sources. So I just thought that was interesting. This one I also thought offered a unique perspective. I'm going to be honest, I didn't like this week's discussion just because I don't enjoy the topic of researching. I hate researching because it can be very difficult sometimes and frustrating. But I did learn some things this week. You always just have to be careful on what source you pick and what searching device you use for a certain searching topic that you are doing. I feel like most of us don't know how to use them for the appropriate topic. So that's a good point, and I really do appreciate this person's honesty. I don't expect you to enjoy or like or love everything we do in this course, but I do hope that I can give you some strategies for how to make difficult tasks more manageable, and also that I can help you understand why it's important to know how to do these things, even if you don't particularly enjoy it or you find it to be challenging. So again, I would encourage all of you to really get into the databases and practice and play around with some of those tools that the database, the way it's set up, will really allow you to kind of tweak your research that way. And hopefully as you become more familiar, it will become less frustrating and a little bit easier and even more rewarding as you start to find the sources that you want to find. And so I hope through the process of this discussion, you were able to get a sense of when to use each type of search tool for different goals, like this person is saying here, for the appropriate task that you're trying to achieve. If you're just trying to get some basic information, or like this person up here says, get some information for your personal life, that would be one type of search. Whereas if you're trying to find sources for an academic research paper, that would be another type of search. This person, I thought, had a good reflection on how useful the database can be for you. After working on this project, I found that using the pooterlibraries.org website made my topic searches a whole lot easier than web searches. As I stated in my discussion, I was able to narrow down my search results dramatically. Now that I know about the pooterlibraries.org website, I think it will make my topic searches a lot easier. And that's awesome for me to hear, because I do intend for these things to make your lives easier, not more difficult. I wouldn't give you a tool like the database if I thought it was going to make things harder for you. So as far as finding really good sources in an efficient way, the database does make it a much easier for you than the web searches, where you have to basically do all the work in terms of determining credibility and that kind of thing. And then this last one I thought just really kind of wrapped everything up together nicely. This discussion opened the door for how difficult research can actually be when the information that's being acquired must be credible and verifiable. When doing research on a topic for a hobby or pastime, the research performed is much less formal and can be acquired from the internet with opinions from others on the topic without making much difference. However, when doing research for the purpose of an academic paper, the research requires techniques and sophistication to ensure that the information being used is fact. It requires skill to perform such research and be able to acquire all of the information needed to gain the knowledge on a topic that will enable the author's work to remain real. There is so much information available at our fingertips these days. The real skill comes with knowing what to use for the purpose of scholarly research. So as you can see, throughout most of this, she's really synthesizing everything that we have said so far in these previous comments that I've pulled out, kind of marrying both the challenges and the opportunities that we see through these tools. And then this last statement I think really sums it up well. So much information available at our fingertips these days. The skill comes from knowing really how to mediate that vast web of information, because it is a definite advantage that we have in this day and age, that we have so much access to information, but now the burden is even more heavily on us to make sure that we do find the good information and that we can distinguish it from the bad, and that we do align our opinions with what we find to be the most credible, accurate, and valid information. Okay, so I also wanted to point out just a couple of things about the discussion itself, just to remind you, because we do have 3 or 4 more discussions in the upcoming weeks throughout the rest of the semester. Do be sure to please post your end-of-week reflections within your own original thread. I noticed some final reflections that were posted separately here again this week, so make sure that you're taking these and just replying to your own original thread instead of putting it separately here. And then also be sure that you wait until after Friday night to complete your final reflections at the end of the week, because sometimes if you do them on Friday night, you might miss out on some of the comments you received, and that way your final reflections wouldn't really synthesize the entire discussion that's going on under your original thread. So just keep those kind of logistic suggestions in mind as you're posting for this week, talking about plagiarism and how to ethically incorporate the information you find in your sources into your own writing. So as always, email me with questions and keep up the good work. Thank you.